Thanks, Steve. Hi, everybody. Let a smile be your umbrella, because today you could need one. This is NASCAR Sprint All-Star Race Sprint Showdown practice. 29 eligible cars take to the Speedway in a little bit muggy conditions, 77 degrees. A little sunlight filters through. It's a mostly cloudy day, however, and it is quite humid with a big storm system down in Atlanta, and yes, headed this way. But despite that, we'll press on. Hi, everybody. Mike Joy with Larry McReynolds and Darrell Waltrip. We've had a little change up in the order because Larry's been to the body shop and he's had just a little bit of Bondo work and stuff done, but all for the good.
Yes, sir. I'm walking proof. If you find anything on your face, your arms, anywhere on your body, even if it doesn't look like anything, go see your doctor. They caught mine early, and Larry Mack is good to go.
I had a wart on my thumb. I thought it was a Hammond. I had it removed. So,
come on, let's talk about this race. You know, probably this year more than ever before, there are more top drivers, more winning resume drivers in the Sprint Showdown than ever before.
Yeah, well, it's just added value. Right. You know, you say, why do I want to come watch that race when the big race is afterwards? Well, tomorrow night, both races are going to be awfully fun, a lot of fun to watch. I'm excited about both of them.
Yeah, this could be the big race, the Showdown. The All-Star race would be big, but getting there is going to be half the fun, so come early tomorrow night.
And you saw, this is final practice, an hour and 20 minutes for these guys, and their procedure will be an impound procedure, and their race is very short tomorrow night. It's 2 20-lap segments with a caution in the middle, not a mandatory pit stop. Right. It's your option what you can do, but these guys will basically have to try to do a little practice qualifying run in this practice, because you don't want to start this race at the end of the back of the field, too short of a race.
I think these Showdown guys, actually I think they end up with an advantage, because you get to run the track. You get to work on your car before you, even though you got to start in the back of that All-Star race, it's still a big advantage to get those laps on the track under the conditions.
Because none of the practice is at nighttime when the All-Star race will be.
And you can transfer from the Showdown and win the All-Star race. It's happened twice. Michael Waltrip, Ryan Newman.
Casey Kane.
Casey Kane did it, yeah. Yep. Yeah, 2 will transfer, exactly.
2 will transfer. We have a driver change. We have some rule changes, but first, Dick Berggren.
And I'm at A.J. Allmendinger's garage. The Digger talked to him a few moments ago, and he's not afraid at all of those big-name drivers who are past winners who are in the Showdown tomorrow night. He just simply said he's going to win it, just like he did here 2 years ago. It doesn't matter to him whether he's going to have to start in the back of the big show. He intends to go out of here tomorrow night with an extra $1 million in his pocket. The Digger thinks he's going to win it all tomorrow. Matt Yoakum.
Now, Dick, A.J. Allmendinger still looking for his first Sprint Cup Series win, but down in my area, the garage, it's loaded with former Sprint Cup winners. Over 10 guys in the last chance race trying to transfer in for that $1 million big money race, the All-Star. They're trying to work their way in, but they're here in the last chance race. Guys like Greg Biffle, he's already back in. You've got Jeff Burton, you've got Clint Boyer, Martin Truex Jr., and of course, can't forget Carl Edwards, who almost won the All-Star race back in 2008. He was the leader at the end of segment 2. These guys all have one thing in mind, that big money check to put in their back pocket on Saturday night. Let's go back upstairs to the machine shop guys, Mike, Larry, and Darrell.
Don't make fun of our shirts. We'll design some for you. 3 drivers will transfer into the All-Star race tomorrow night. 2 will race their way in, as we've been talking about, from the Sprint Showdown. And finally, the fans will vote 1 driver into the All-Star race. So we'll find out for that one. Driver change, Tommy Baldwin Racing. Tony Raines at the wheel of the number 36 this week for the Sprint Showdown. Now, the rules as originally printed for this race, under driver eligibility, required finishing in the top 50 in the final 2009 standings, or attempting to qualify for a Sprint Cup race as of Monday, February 15th, which would be the end of the Daytona 500. There were several drivers who did not compete in the Daytona 500, but have competed since regularly. Kevin Conway is one example. He drives the Extends Ford, and J.J. Yaley, who replaced Casey Mears over at Key Motorsports. He's in the 46. He replaced Terry Cook in the number 46. Yeah. And they're now full-time drivers on the circuit. So the rule has been amended, and that February date moved to Monday, May 17th to be eligible to run in the Showdown. And Tony Raines, who competed earlier in the season, is out there for Tommy Baldwin Motorsports. So the end result, 29 cars in the Sprint Showdown, including California's David Gilliland.
The end result, all the teams that's been here every single week in 2010, they're going to get to race in that race tomorrow night, which I think is only right.
And I believe the one exception might be that number 90 team of Raymond Key Motorsports, because they dropped off the schedule and said they would not be at the All-Star Weekend. They are seeking sponsorship and hope to return, but at a later date. Up till then, they had attempted all the races.
Yeah, and David Gilliland, he's about to ring the bell. He's coming down here. The car looked a little jukey with him.
Fastest lap, Sam Hornish. Speed's presentation of NASCAR Sprint All-Star Practice from Charlotte is brought to you by Toyota, by Tornadoes, bold is how we roll, and by Cece's, home of the endless pizza, pasta, salad, and dessert buffet. Sam Hornish, quickest so far. Last year, Sam won the Showdown. Here's our Toyota track description of the mile-and-a-half, formerly Lowe's and now Charlotte Motor Speedway.
You know, Mike, you were talking about that fan vote, and this has been going on for several years. Joey Logano was actually the fan vote last year. But what I've been told by the people at Sprint, that this year it has absolutely went berserk as far as the fan vote. But I think a lot has to do with a lot of the campaigning that the drivers are doing. And I'm hearing that the top 10, it's almost too close to even call right now. And you can vote up till about an hour before the race tomorrow night.
Yeah, I've been following Jeff Burton and Juan Pablo and several of them on Twitter, and they are soliciting votes all day long, every day. Matter of fact, Burton just got a tweet from some friends over in South Boston, said the entire town over there, the people that go to that racetrack are voting as hard and as fast as they can go.
That's great.
So they're going to run the totals up anyway. But Larry, you know something, that all these guys, whether in this race or the shootout, these guys all have one thing in common. They all came over here and tested.
This is true. Yeah, this is where really and truly the first big NASCAR test was about 2.5 months ago with the new conventional rear spoiler.
And remember 2008 when Casey Kane was the fan vote winner and went on to win the All-Star race. So it can happen.
And you may have to adjust your set at home because a lot of these cars are going to have different looks. Now here's my brother. He's in got Red Rock. It's his favorite restaurant up there at Birkdale. Those guys stepped up and sponsored the car for him this weekend, which I'm proud of.
Oh, this isn't just Michael paying off his tab.
No. Well, I don't think so. Now,
okay.
He does run up a pretty healthy tab there.
I'm kidding. I know Ron, and you know they put out a great spread there, and it's a great restaurant.
When Michael takes the clan all out to eat dinner,
I'll bet
it runs the bill up pretty quick.
Yeah, that's the sponsorifier right there.
It is.
I even heard that Michael is well in the thick of that fan vote right now.
Wow. Tech South on the car, a company that makes orbital welding equipment for welding pipe and other materials. And here comes Elliott Sadler. Looks like the Hunt Brothers pizza colors on his car this week.
Good bunch of guys from Nashville. I mentioned this a couple weeks ago. They made pizzas for all the flood victims, and just come and get all the pizza you want, and it was free, and that was their way of trying to help out some of the folks at home that have been affected by the flood.
There's a great grassroots effort there, and a lot of country music and racing people involved in flood relief in Nashville. I know that Tony Stewart, Clint Boyer, and Richard Childress went over last week after the Dover race to help with the telethon. There's a lot going on, and even though the Nashville flood has slipped from the headlines, folks, it should not slip from your consciousness. They still need a lot of help there, and through the American Red Cross is certainly one way for you to participate.
Yep. The community involvement and the effort of the churches, the Red Cross, and everybody that lives there in the home is really making a big difference and getting everybody kind of squared away and through that mess. And it literally is a mess.
See Todd Bodine here in a 64 car. Todd, of course, doing double duty. The NASCAR Camping World Truck Series race tonight on Speed. Right now, Todd is 16th quickest. The other good thing about this type of a weekend, guys, with only 29 cars showing up to run the Showdown, everyone knows they will race tomorrow night. And trust me, a lot of these guys that will have to be back out here next Thursday and qualify on time for the Coca-Cola 600, they will use this hour and 20 minutes here in particular as a test session to get ready to qualify next week.
Dick Berggren
Well, Elliott Sadler is fourth quick on the board right now, Mike. He's just been in the garage, told the crew that he wanted a little bit more front grip, wanted to roll better through the center of the corner. That's pretty typical stuff for here. But the most telling thing he said was, by far, the engine in the car is the best he has ever had. This is the new Ford engine under the hood of Elliott Sadler's car.
Yeah, to my knowledge, every Ford here, especially under the Richard Petty Motorsports banner and Roush Fenway banner, they've got the new FR9 engine. It's a great weekend to get some time and try some things.
It's amazing how much better your car handles when the engine is putting out a lot of power.
Handling down that straightaway.
Shooting down that straightaway.
That's true. Sam Hornish still quickest with the fastest lap at over 178 miles an hour. Matt?
Mike, while we were at break, you guys in the booth were talking about how so many cars were back here in the garage area making changes after going out for their initial run. Carl Edwards, one of those drivers, he said he was just simply loose all over the racetrack. From the center off in 1 and 2, loose the center off, especially off turn 4. Bob Osborne made some changes into the front of this race car, just trying to get a little bit more feel for the 99 because it is just free everywhere.
You know, one thing, there's a couple of things that this FR9 engine does for these Fords. It's lighter. It weighs less than the old engine, and the old front tires just love that. It runs cooler, which will let you run more tape on that front end, which the car loves as far as downforce and drag on the straightaway.
Yeah, you know, that would be probably the thing that would make me want to push for that engine more than anything else is the weight. Because we hear week in and week out these guys say, well, we built a new car and it's the lightest car we've ever built. And weight was a big issue in this car when it first came out. It was so top heavy, it was like driving an SUV. So now they've got that down, and that's why these cars are running faster.
Now you may be wondering, as I was, how you can have an all-star race and Bill Elliott is not an all-star. And quite frankly, it's very similar to the baseball all-star game. It's based on year-to-year performance and not the body of work of your entire career. I mean, every great baseball player eventually didn't play in the all-star game, even though they were still active in the sport. Bill Elliott runs a partial schedule for the Wood brothers. Does a great job when they come to the racetrack for their limited schedule, but not all-star quality as of 2010.
Well, all past champions are in it. If you were a past champion within the last 10 years, Bill was champion in 1988.
Tonight, the world's toughest trucks take center stage in All-Star Week. Sparks fly, metal gets crushed, tempers are boil over, and wait till you see what happens on the track with the NASCAR Camping World Truck Series live from Charlotte tonight, 7:30, only on Speed.
I love it when they say they don't play nice.
Ooh.
Bad boys.
Let's not play. You know, it feels like it's raining in here. You know, it's that humid, let alone out on the racetrack. As David Reagan right now is 13th in this practice session, 7th among the Fords.
The most laps anybody has run is Martin Truex Jr. in the 56 car. He's run 10 laps. As I mentioned, this is a fairly short race tomorrow night. And even though these guys tested out here, a lot has happened with these cars since they tested here with the new rear spoiler. I think a lot has evolved. So I think you'll see these guys making short runs because they want to make a ton of changes during this short practice.
I think it was the 42 car, Montoya and those guys, Brian Patty. Didn't they come over here and run the wing and then took the wing off and put the spoiler on, which I thought was a good idea?
They were the only team that I could find that did it. They unloaded with the wing. They had a deck lid and all fixed up. They made one or two runs. They unbolted it, bolted the deck lid with the spoiler on there. Montoya said, if I hadn't watched you changed it, I would have never known it. And Darrell, it was in like 2 or 3 thousandths of a second, the difference on the stopwatch.
Yeah, that's the surprising thing. Of course, that's a car by itself. I guess these cars probably might react a little wee bit different from the wing to the spoiler, but by themselves, there's absolutely no difference.
So I'm paging through the rules here. Is that because the wing was on the car as of February 17th?
No, May the 17th.
Oh, May 17th.
Yeah.
They were able to do that and then make the change.
I would say that, you know, I think a lot of people had the attitude, we don't have it, why bother? But I like the fact that one team at least did it.
I do too. I mean, in a driver's mind, if a driver, the first thing you're going to hear out of a driver's mouth, I think I like that wing better. You know, just because it's a change.
And folks at home, in your daily commute, that doesn't change much unless there's a new pothole on US 52. No, where was that thing? Damn, hit that hard. 77 in Statesville. Big pothole. Okay, but other than that, but the racetrack changes every time you come to the racetrack. So unless you try what you had under the same circumstances, how do you know if what you got is any better or any different?
I agree, Mike. No matter how much wind tunnel information they had, until someone did it on the racetrack, you just won't know.
No, you don't. But I'm just taking a look here at Clint Boyer, and look at just that little bob in his head. That just tells you, even though this track is pretty darn smooth these days, there's still a lot of movement that driver goes through. And look at him, he leans as he goes in the corner here. And of course, I love the seats, the way this all wraps around you now. So much protection. But
13 looks good. Pretty good lap times there.
Pretty good lap times. The thing that I do notice, this Hans device, you know, when we first started using it, you could not move your head. You couldn't hardly budge it one way or another. I wonder, Larry, is that one of the ones that has the...
There's a new tether, Darrell, for the Hans device, and it's the tether goes from the helmet behind the Hans device where it's captured by 2 brackets. The new tether allows the driver to move his head side to side, and I've tried it both ways. It is a huge improvement, not only in your visibility, peripheral visibility, but in your comfort.
Yeah, I would definitely think so, because that Hans device, the way it was initially hooked up, it was uncomfortable.
But it's still just as effective.
Oh, yeah.
With the new tether.
Yes. Dick Berggren?
Australian Marcus Ambrose has done an international campaign for the fan vote. What have you done to try to get the fans to vote you in tomorrow night?
Well, we've committed everything. I've almost put my grandmother on eBay to try and sell her, because we've been trying everything to get in this main race. We're really excited to be here, but we want to be in the race for the $1 million at the end of the night. And you know, we've tried hard. We've campaigned in Australia. We've done a lot of work here in North Carolina too, just trying to spread the word. And we know we're in the top 10. We're just not quite sure where we sit, but we've been basically in the top 10 for the fan vote the entire time. But you know, we're up against some stiff guys, stiff competition. Martin Truex, very popular, Michael Waltrip, and a heap of others.
Marcus has never won a Sprint Cup race, but did you know that 14 people have won their very first on All-Star Night?
Well, I didn't know that, so I get to put my game phase on to make sure I get in that race, huh?
All right, go get him, man. Thanks.
He has an interesting sponsor. We'll show you when we see the car out on the track. Here's Juan Pablo Montoya, who has moved up the board to 4th.
But here's what I'm noticing, Darrell. We go to Atlanta, we go to Texas. It takes a while to get an upper groove in. These guys came straight out of the truck, and I even saw it at the test, especially with the 42 car, Montoya. You'll see him go down in the 3 and 4. He'll probably make me a storyteller here, but he will probably go right up against the wall. He's about a lane off the last 2 times. Now you see him. Boy, he was he may have been against it that time.
As my good friend.
I think it's high going down low. I think it's it. 30-45.
I think you'll notice with Juan what he does. He kind of diamonds all the corners, up to the top, down to the bottom, trying to pick up that momentum that you get when you come off the corner. But as my good friend Junior Johnson would say, I believe he got again it.
I looked at the lettering on the tires. That's usually our clue if he's gotten against the wall, and they still looked yellow. But then again, this week, look at the wall. It's all yellow, so how would you know?
But one thing I like, look at that race car as it goes around the racetrack. That thing it's flat all the way through the corners. Look at the splitter. It's the same on both sides. It's down on the left side. It's down on the right side.
Started getting that bouncing going into turn 1 over the hump.
I think it might be hitting the splitter as low as it is.
But it is very bumpy getting into turn 1 here, which is what he was just talking about.
That is right down.
Let's just stick to the plan and run this one out. Work lap 10 of this run.
Juan's run a total of 13 laps so far.
See, I like that, though. Stick to the plan. See, a driver wants to abort. He wants to, I don't like it, I'm coming in. Well, you can't learn anything in a couple of laps, so stick to the plan and work with me.
Well, I talked about this being a short race, but one thing these guys probably will need to be working on, I would anticipate that we may see someone stay out between those 2 20-lappers, especially maybe just 2 right side tires.
All right, let's go to the garage and Matt.
Mike, I don't know any car number and team that has more history here at the Charlotte Motor Speedway than the famous 21 out of the Stewart, Virginia-based Wood Brothers shops. They've moved to Charlotte, but still, you look back at all the success they've had. And Len Wood said, you know, you think back to the 70s when we had Pearson and Neil Bonnet won, what, 13 straight poles here? And they're hoping for more success with Bill Elliott. They unhooked the rear bar, then hooked it back up. They're trying to help him get through the center of the corner. He said it's just so free trying to roll the center. It's just putting too much transfer weight on that left front, so they're going to make some changes up front. But you know what? These guys are on a limited schedule. They've got Motorcraft on the hood, on the back deck lid. It's great to see them, even on their 13-race schedule, which next year they hope to go back to full-time, here at Charlotte, once again competing.
Thanks, Matt. Bill is 10th fastest out of the 25 drivers who have practiced so far, and his son was a winner last week at Rockingham, son Chase. Here's the fastest man in town so far, Sam Hornish, last year's Showdown winner. Tomorrow night, the first item on the menu will be the Sprint Showdown, where Sam Hornish, Jeff Burton, Carl Edwards, Montoya Sadler, and the rest of 29 drivers are all hoping to be one of the first 2 across the finish line and transfer into the All-Star race.
And look at those times. I mean, just look at that. A 66 to a 67, a 76 to a 77, and a 78. I mean, cars are so equal these days, so close.
You know what's amazing, Elliott Sadler, of course, we had some brand new asphalt. He's actually the track record holder here. Did it in October of 2005. 27.948 over 193 miles an hour average around this mile-and-a-half track.
That's a fast.
That is fast.
That's a fast right there.
3 drivers have not practiced: Norm Benning, Joe Nemechek, Robert Richardson.
What was that in miles an hour? Because we were in 192 miles an hour here qualifying last year.
193 plus.
Yeah, so we were 192 last year here.
Let's find out what's going on with the fastest car so far, Dick.
Well, that'd be Sam Hornish, Mike, and it's a good news, bad news kind of story. First, the good news. Sam Hornish is on top of the board. Nobody has run a quicker lap than he has. He has tried to run the shootout twice, and both times he has managed to qualify for the big race. Won one, finished second in the other. That's the end of the good news. The bad news is this, that the car has a slight push in it, and then it snaps loose. And Hornish has told the crew that is exactly the same symptom that has caused him to spin at both Dover and Darlington. There are worries in the 77 camp about hitting the wall here, potentially even in practice.
Yeah, 5 cautions at Dover, and 2 of the 5 were for the 77.
But you know what? When they get this car under Sam Hornish, when it handles like he needs it to, he runs good. It's just that the car seems to be a little unpredictable for him.
Yeah, that's true. He's certainly capable of putting up some good numbers and some good runs, and not just at the tracks where he's had success in IndyCar. Hey, Jeff Burton did a great job last night. Clint Boyer was in attendance, so was Richard Childress and Mike Dillon and Richard's grandsons. But at the Storytellers Hour, I hope you caught that on Speed, Jim Hunter, Barney Hall, Tom Higgins, all veteran journalists, broadcaster Alan Bestwick, and Jeff Burton were the panel, telling stories about all the Hall of Fame inductees. And Burton looked to both sides of him and he said, "Richard, I just want you to know, I want to drive this car for a long, long time, and being up here with these fellas might make me seem older than I am, but I'm not." And he did a great job. Matt?
Well, Mike, while they're trying to make some changes to the 99 car, Carl Edwards, to fix the balance issue he's chasing, they got very lucky. 4-inch gash on this left rear tire you can see here. When they brought it in, they took it off. That's what they found. So good luck so far for the 99.
Ran over something. And that's again, folks, race tires have a very thin carcass compared to your passenger car tire. You might be able to run over that and not even have the tread block damaged. But these tires are so soft and the carcass is so thin, you know, something like that throw you in a wall in a hurry.
And the reason they make the rubber fairly thin is you have to remember that tire is almost like a piece of insulation. The thicker you make the rubber, the more heat it's going to hold. So they try to thin out that rubber where they'll run a little cooler.
Kevin Conway is a beneficiary of NASCAR's new rule that allowed drivers who entered the series after the Daytona 500 to participate in All-Star Weekend. Had a tough weekend at Dover, had a crash early, knocked the crush panels out of the wheel wells, and he had to be taken and treated for carbon monoxide fumes after the race, but he toughed it out, as he's done in every race this year so far, finishing, taking the checkered flag everywhere but Darlington.
Kevin is a good kid. I know I've mentioned this before, but his dad, Sam, who passed away a couple, 3 years ago, Sam worked for me for a while, and Kevin was just a young kid driving in the Legends division, and his aspiration, his dream, was to someday be a Sprint Cup driver. And so not only is he doing a good job, but he's he's living out a dream.
And played a role in bringing a new sponsor to our sport at the beginning of 2010.
So he's living the dream. Okay?
Absolutely, and working at it. So is Regan Smith, former Rookie of the Year in the series. Racing for Furniture Row, and Regan right now is 23rd of the 26 cars that have practiced.
Yeah, he's only made one run. This is his second run. He's only run a total of 5 laps so far.
Just notice the difference. We were talking about the 42 car going around the racetrack, how flat it was and how low it was. Take a look at Regan's car. As you can see, it starts to raise up on the straightaway. That is speed. When the car comes up in the air like that, you're giving up a lot of speed.
And it looked like especially picking up on the left front, which really hurts the car straightaway wise and hurts the car in the corners.
See the whole front of the car just comes up, and that's letting the air get out of the car. And that air getting out of the car will slow you down. So they need to suck that baby down a little bit.
Sam Hornish, Jeff Burton, Carl Edwards are still the fastest in Sprint Showdown practice. Tonight on Speed, a special all-star edition of Trackside. You'll meet Joey Logano, Mark Martin, Alan Gustafson, and Hall of Famer Junior Johnson. That's Trackside tonight, and it airs at 10:30 Eastern after the truck race right here on Speed.
Big old Friday night party tonight.
Lots of fun.
Social media is such a big thing, and we all keep up with it. NASCAR on Fox is on Twitter, a lot of drivers, DW occasionally, and on Facebook and on MySpace. And you never know what's going to pop up on Twitter when you're doing a practice show. For example,
you see what it says? I'm trying to make it to the track without getting seen in my race suit. Sitting low. This is embarrassing.
We got to get Matt or one of the guys to find out why he was coming to the racetracks already dressed in his uniform.
Yeah, because his practice session isn't until a little bit after this is first.
You see that next car on the outside? Is that the Allstate girls?
Might be.
So don't worry, Casey. Nobody has seen you. Nobody saw this.
Yeah, don't be embarrassed.
Right, don't be. We can do it for you.
We won't tell us so.
Just between us. Well, the bad news is the 43 isn't Petty Blue and STP red this week. I guess the good news is it's a nice, tasteful navy and maize. Looks like University of Michigan. It's Best Buy colors.
Yep.
For the Dinger.
We'll say hi to
he
all
is 6th fastest.
We'll say hi. Whoa, and he's loosey-goosey too. Yep. I want to say hi to all the Best Buy folks here in Franklin, Tennessee. I was in the store the other day. Big race fans. They love the program. They like being in NASCAR, and they hooked ODW up with a nice big screen.
All right.
Yeah, but I didn't have to do anything like that. I just did that as a courtesy.
Well, let's go to Matt in the garage.
Well, an update on the 16 of Greg Biffle sitting in the race car. 2 issues. First, he wasn't quite sure if the car was just too rigid or if the splitter was actually hitting the racetrack very hard. He said the car is turning well.
Matt, car in the wall, turn 4, just coming down off the banking and onto pit road. That's Elliott Sadler has hit the wall, and he smacked it pretty good.
Scraped it. And I mean, everybody's flirting with that 3rd and 4th turn wall. They get right up there. We saw Montoya. I've noticed that Jeff Burton in the 31 car. A lot of guys have been right up, like I said, almost again it, but he hit it.
Now you'll see 2 cars. He's the one further up higher on the racetrack.
He's up too high. Boy, the car just absolutely took off, Larry. I mean,
yeah, it would not turn a lick. It did.
That had the look of a car that got down on the splitter, and the car wouldn't turn because it's going through the turn, and all of a sudden it just skates up the hill as if it maybe got down on the splitter.
And when you get on the splitter, it actually makes the front wheels light.
Yeah, picks it. It's almost like you pick up the front wheels.
I don't think this is going to be bad. You know, this car, as we've pointed out ever since we've been racing it now for over 3 seasons, it's very durable. They're going to make sure it didn't affect the toe out on the front end, make sure nothing in the rear's bent.
Sadler also had trouble last week in practice at Dover. Matt, sorry to interrupt. Let's go back and get you to finish that story.
Well, that was definitely an e-ticket ride. Now back on the 16, the other issue they've been dealing with, sometimes you get a brand new race car, unique things happen, and Greg Biffle pulled the car back in. They pulled the side window out to let the smoke out. There was actually smoke inside the race car, just burning of some new paint. brand new piece here for the 16 this weekend.
And then what that paint scheme, the 3M Pit Bulls, that was a name chosen for the pit crew through a contest that 3M did, where fans could name the pit crew for Greg Biffle.
And they're emblazoned there on the trunk.
It takes too long, so I won't tell you my story about me having smoke in my car right here at this racetrack. It smelled like a forest fire. Somebody was burning. I thought somebody was barbecuing.
Ooh.
And Hammond had put wood in the frame rails to take up the low slack where the lead goes.
Right.
And it was right over the tailpipes, and the 2x4s he had stuck in there were catching on fire and about to smoke ODW out of the cockpit.
So that weight box became a fireplace.
I kept telling him, I said, Hammond, don't tell NASCAR, somebody in the infield has got a fire going. It's sneaking up. Then pretty soon it caught on fire, and I knew where it was coming from.
I knew somewhere in there you were going to use the words Jeff Hammond.
Joe Nemechek is the final car to take to the track, and now all 29 have practice. Nemechek ran one fast lap. He's headed back for the garage. 21st of 29. Sam Hornish is still top of the heap.
He's definitely running some laps. He's run a total coming to 21 laps.
Here are the fast five so far, led by Sam Hornish and Jeff Burton. And here's Robbie Gordon driving his unsponsored Toyota. He's run 8 laps. He's 20th on the speed chart. You know,
a total of 3 times.
When Bruton Smith offered the $20 million to whoever could win the Indy 500 and the Coca-Cola 600 in the same day, there is a fellow who would try it. And in at least one half of the double, he'd have a pretty good chance.
There's a lot of
Maybe
guys
2.
that would try it. I don't think there was maybe 2 or 3 that could realistically have a shot at doing something like that. But there are 2 or 3, like Robbie being one of them, Tony Stewart being one of them, maybe even John Andretti could have an outside chance.
John was
Montoya.
actually the first one to do the double
right.
duty.
In Montoya, I mean, there's 4 or 5 guys that would have a bona fide, legitimate shot at doing both.
And you got to wonder, would a Jeff Gordon want to try it?
I
Or
think
someone like that with open wheel experience?
Yeah, I mean, it depends. You know how it is in that kind of racing.
Sure.
If you can get a Penske car, everybody's got a chance. or
a Ganassi car.
Didn't take them long to figure out. I don't think a lot was wrong with that 19 car we kind of anticipated with Elliott Sadler. He's back out on the racetrack really about 10 minutes after he smacked the wall.
And if they wait a couple of years to move the Indy starting time so that this could be a possibility, there's always Danica.
Always. There's always that chance.
That's right.
She can win Indy, I guarantee you.
You know, just the possibility. I mean, it was so great back in the day. We'd sit up here in the booth and we'd be watching toward the Concord airport. Where's the jet? Where's the jet? Where's the jet? Will he make it? Will he get here? Will they get here on time? Whether it was John Andretti or Robbie Gordon or Tony Stewart, will they make it? Okay, now can they go the distance? It was a great thing to look forward to, and the television audience didn't have to be divided. Their loyalties didn't have to be divided between Indianapolis and Charlotte.
Yep.
So
I
win-win.
had a race car named Wilma. You may remind me of when you said, "Will my car make it?" That was his name. Will my car win? Will my car run all day? Will my car make it?
I think Junior Johnson said you had a car here one time named Constipation.
No, it's hemorrhoid. Which we had a couple of, but he did. We had a car. He just said the car was constipated at Talladega.
Hadn't passed the thing all day, right?
Barney Hall had flipped him out. He didn't know what he was talking about. Junior said, "Have you seen that car pass anything today?"
And that was one of the stories that was told last night live here on Speed from the Hall of Fame dinner. Matt.
And Clint Boyer, who you mentioned earlier, went to Nashville to help out with the relief there. He needs some relief with his race car. He's 8th on the board, but he says at this juncture, the grip level wise right now, I'm not going to be able to bust off a good lap at all. It's just very slippery out there. And then his spotter, Mike Dillon, said, you guys aren't going to believe this, but I believe the 42 of Montoya just did a mock simulation of a restart on the racetrack. So a lot of different agendas during this practice session.
You know why? Remember what happened to him last year here? He and Mark Martin had a little bit of a problem with wheel spin. Mark did, or Montoya did. Mark got into him, messed up his right rear quarter panel, and it wasn't long after that he got lapped and wasn't a factor in the race. This racetrack, a lot like Texas, restarts here are treacherous. When you come off the banking into this flat area here in the dog leg, you always get wheel spin.
We almost had a big spin from Scott Speed.
Oh, he did hit pretty good. Yeah, he's got pretty good.
Yeah, he smacked it. It almost looks like it's knocked the rear end over to the left.
Well, the whole right front's caved in. And you see, look at his left front tire all cocked out there.
Here's a look, Darrell.
This thing will probably wiggle a little bit. Wiggle. Catch, catch, catch.
Yeah, he smacked it pretty good with the right rear especially.
But when they get around like that, you just cannot. The best thing you could do, turn it left and lock it.
Spin it out.
Spin it on out.
It's done.
Yeah, it's a pretty hard mix. I'd
that's
say Jimmy Elledge and that group may be looking at a backup car. Not going to have a long time to get that backup car out on the track.
And you saw the difference. He might have hit with the same force as Elliott Sadler, but look where he hit. That's not the safer barrier right there. That's good old North Carolina concrete.
Elliott just scraped the wall.
Yes.
He tried to knock it down.
Flat, yeah.
Okay.
And there you see the Red Bull group, Jimmy Elledge and that group unloading a backup car. Don't have long to get it out there, though.
That's like a wind up. Get her cocked around there and wind her up and shoot her into the wall.
Tomorrow, the NASCAR Sprint All-Star Race hits Charlotte. One pre-race show to get you revved up to race for $1 million. Jimmy Johnson, Denny Hamlin, Kurt Busch, Tony Stewart on the biggest show of the year, a special 3-hour edition of NASCAR Race Day built by the Home Depot. Live tomorrow, 4 p.m. Eastern, and only on Speed.
I'm going to work that show with Kenny and JR, and starting at Michigan, I think it is. I got about 4 weeks there that I had to have a couple of weeks off to get my nerve up to go work with Kenny Wallace, so I'm going to try to pull it off. So he and I will have a lot of fun, I'm sure.
And speaking of that race day show, they're going to have the Pennzoil Ultra Challenge, the burnout competition. DW, are you participating this year, or were you one and done from last year?
You know, as of May the 17th, I was in, but then I haven't competed in over 300 days, so I got kicked out.
See, he was burned out last year, but this year he's fresh as a daisy.
That's right.
He had a great burnout. He just broke every rule in the book.
Yeah. Well, I was done.
We don't need any sticking rules.
What put me out was when I hung that cable with that post onto it, and it shot it out across the racetrack
like
like
an
an
arrow.
Yeah.
But that will be in the race day show tomorrow. I think there's about 5 or 6 drivers participating.
Carl Edwards passing Robert Richardson.
In a hurry, too.
Richardson 28th out of 29. Here comes Clint Boyer. Carl currently 3rd. He's the fastest Ford in the Sprint Showdown right now.
Now, Carl did not qualify for the All-Star Challenge back in 2007, so in this showdown, he started on the pole and finished 3rd, so he did not make the transfer.
Roush Fenway only has 1 car in the All-Star race, and the last time that happened was 1995.
I was going to say it had to be a long time ago. He's got Matt Kenseth in the Sprint All-Star Challenge, and then Edwards, Biffle, and Reagan in this showdown.
But I think that this is it once again exemplifies just how important winning is.
Sure.
You know, you got to finish. We all know that you got to finish to get the points. But in order to be successful, you got to win some races.
Most laps anybody has run, we heard them talking a while ago, sticking to their plan. Juan Pablo Montoya has run 36 laps in this practice session. Carl has run a total of 23 laps in the 99 car.
They just can't get their hands around this car. You know, it was pretty good at Dover, but it still wasn't the Carl Edwards that we're used to seeing winning 5, 6, 7 races in a season. They don't, and he keeps saying this, and it has no speed. They can't get any speed out of the car.
But what's amazing, Darrell, we ran this car full time for the first time in 2008, and the man won 9 races.
Yep.
Now, this is a team whose fortunes have picked up since J.J. Yaley came aboard. He's been making the races. He's reasonably competitive. He's 16th on the board right now. That's right about middle of this field.
There, you know, and thinking about Carl is a driver. I mean, we see him up on the wheel all the time. And I think when this car when we first started using this car all the time, you had to be an aggressive up on the wheel driver to get the car around the track. But I think now the cars have evolved to where it's almost back to who's got the best car now, not who's got the best driver maybe.
Derek Cope in the Charter Dodge.
One of 3 Dodges that will be in this showdown. Of course, Sam Hornish Jr. to Dodge. We talked about J.J. Yaley and Derek Cope. All 3 in Dodges in the showdown race.
It's a good-looking car. I mean, Derek's had to run a number of races unsponsored. But he's backing from Charter for the All-Star weekend.
And speaking of Derek, what about Greg Sachs? Going to run the nationwide race at Daytona in July.
And not just in any old car.
No, in the 88 car.
Yeah.
That just shocked me. I didn't know that he even.
I had
raced
Junior Motorsports. Yeah.
Yeah, I had thought that perhaps Greg Sachs might have retired from driving, but
I did too.
Good to go.
And of course, what's interesting about that race, that will be the first race with the new Nationwide Series cars. They had a 2-day test down there this week, and so far the feedback has been pretty positive from that test.
And Sachs comes to mind because both Greg Sachs and Derek Cope were upset winners at Daytona. Cope in the 500 when Earnhardt cut a tire, and Sachs in that it was his car, but it was pretty much a Dygaard R&D and engine package in that Greg Sachs unsponsored number 10 that went to victory lane.
Yeah, he and Gary Nelson, I think.
Right.
Gary was the crew chief on the car.
David Reagan popped up 13th on the board early in this session, and that's where he has stayed. 30.1, his best lap.
David sitting, of course, this is a non-points weekend, but sitting 22nd in the Sprint Cup Series points right now, and we are a third of the way through 2010.
He is already entered in a very big race weekend here at Charlotte Motor Speedway that you will see on Speed, and that is the Legends Million. A $250,000 to win Legends car race that Bruton Smith is putting on for his U.S. Legends International. Happens in July. I bet he's not the only Cup driver in the field, and you'll see it right here on Speed.
We're talking about Bill Elliott. I think Bill Elliott's going to be in that race.
Something tells me that's going to be a case of the last man standing. Who is left for that kind of money?
You know who's going to win the weekend? The parts truck.
Yes, they will.
Don't they always?
Yes, they do.
That might be a good weekend to be a buzzard.
Ken Reagan, David's dad, who runs U.S. Legends, here's Bill Elliott on track, 11th fastest. They took me for a tour of their facility, and they showed me pallets and pallets stacked up in the corner of front and rear bumpers. I said, well, how many Legends car bumpers do you go through in a year? He said, oh, about 10,000. Wow. Of each. Wow. That's a lot of bumpers.
And there was a method to their madness of giving you a tour of the facility, I think.
Yeah, my 11-year-old Scott is chomping at the bit to run the summer shootout that starts here on Tuesday evenings in June.
I bought my girls a new piano. Saved a lot of money, buddy.
Montoya is fourth behind Hornish, Burton, and Edwards in this practice. Sprint brings you this inside look at what's happening now inside the NASCAR Sprint Cup Series. Top speed, Sam Hornish, 182 miles an hour, 29.66 seconds. For more NASCAR stats, in-car audio, and live race radio, check out NASCAR Sprint Cup Mobile at sprint.com/speed. I guess they took whatever paint was left over from doing the walls here at Charlotte Motor Speedway for just this one weekend, and gave some to Tommy Baldwin, and here's his number 36 with former ASA star Tony Raines beyond the wheel.
You know, I talked to Tommy Baldwin earlier this week, and Tommy's in a little bit of a box with this whole situation because you know, he had latched on to Casey Mears and felt like they were onto something. And then, of course, the Brian Vickers situation comes along, and, you know, Brian's future status right now short-term future is unknown. Red Bull has put Casey Mears in the car. And, you know, Tommy was using Johnny Sauter, but it just gets too complicated with the NASCAR Camping World Truck Series.
That is Edsel Ford II, the gentleman on the left. That is Jamie Allison on the right. He's the head of Ford Racing. And Edsel was in town the other evening making a presentation for a 22,000 square foot exhibit at the Henry Ford Museum that will be called Racing in America. And it's all about the innovation of racing. They have the Lotus that Jim Clark drove at Indy, the Wood Brothers Crude. They have Bill Elliott's $1 million winning car. And it's not just Fords. It's all sorts of race cars ever since the dawn of the sport. It's going to be a tremendous exhibit. They are fundraising now. Roger Penske is the co-chair. Roger has pledged $1 million. They're hoping to raise $14 million more, and then 18 months of construction, and it'll be open as part of a wonderful American experience. The Henry Ford, including Greenfield Village. You can walk in Thomas Edison's actual laboratory. The Wright Brothers Bicycle Shop from Dayton, Ohio, moved up there and located. See steam engines, see Model Ts driving around the property. It's a fantastic place.
It really is. It almost sounds as cool as the NASCAR Hall of Fame. Pretty close to it.
In a different way.
In a different way. I just also standing up there with Doug Yates and Robert and Carolyn. I got to see them on Tuesday night. They were at the St. Jude's fundraiser we did here at the Speedway Club. Robert looked great. I mean, he thinned down and he really looked good. He kind of farmed up by Junior. And Junior Johnson. And he says, you know, Junior and I pass each other. He's on his side of the fence mowing grass, and I'm on my side of the fence. And we just wave. And Robert made a nice contribution to St. Jude's the other night, and it was a really great fundraiser. Had a good time.
Now here's Marcus Ambrose with a new and certainly different sponsor. Cavalia is now playing in Charlotte. Think Cirque du Soleil with show horses. And it's supposedly quite a production.
Is that anything like the Royal Lipizzans? They had that big horse show in Vegas where they had those. I think those were big black horses, if I remember right. I'm not sure if it's the same thing or not.
We're going to have to ask Marcos because he went and saw the show, hung out with them, and I guess it is quite a cultural experience.
Well, it's cool. It's a temporary big top. I mean, it's right down there near the Panther football stadium in uptown Charlotte, a huge temporary facility that they put up for this show.
Well, if Cirque du Soleil has anything to do with
the faunder of Cirque du Soleil created this.
It'll be phenomenal. Yeah. Every show they do, whether it's the Elvis show, the Beatles show, I think they're working on what did I hear? Well, they're actually working on the Elvis show. I don't think they have it done yet.
Okay.
But the Beatles show was great. Yeah, they do. I went to the Elvis show. Come and think
of it.
It's
at the new Hotel City Center in Las Vegas. Now, we got a new sheriff in town, and it's that 31 car right there to the left. I think with about 15 or 20 minutes to go in his practice, again, it's an impound type procedure. These guys are throwing new tires, making a little qualifying run. So Burton goes up to the top of the charts at a 29.60.
What are they up to, Matt?
They are trying to make a very fast race car even better. He said it's borderline loose down in turns 1 and 2 and a little free on the entry into turn 3. From that point on, he says just tight middle to exit. They're making a nose weight change, shuffling a little bit of weight balance. Also, they made a rear bar adjustment as well. So still trying to make this 31 car better. And Mike, you mentioned the Henry Ford. There was a great story back when Henry Ford, the first, was still around, and Thomas Edison walked into that laboratory after he'd already put it all back together, and he said, don't move, because Edison had sat on a stool, and Henry Ford nailed that stool to the floor so that folks, when they'd walk through there, they'd know that's exactly where Thomas Edison sat. It's a wonderful place for a race fan or just a fan, like you mentioned, of American history.
You know, last week, I'm looking at this car. Last week, I remember Montoya and his teammate there had a problem with their track bar.
Yes.
If you look right in there, that's where the track bar mount is, and it's a big long bracket that hangs down the track bar mounts to. That thing has so much leverage on it that it actually pulled it out of the frame. You can see where it's all welded into the frame, and here's the braces for it. I guess they had tried to lighten that thing up, and it had actually pulled out of the frame.
They did, Darrell. They had a fabricated mount that had a whole lot of Swiss cheese drilled in it, and it was a lot more, had a lot more engineering in it than what we see there on the Childress cars. And Yeah, maybe it was the weak link.
What magnifies that is you can see with the setup these cars run, they run that track bar almost all the way at the bottom, and that just puts a lot of leverage on that bracket.
Yeah, we used to run the thing up in the trunk almost, where it was right up to the bottom of the frame, but now they lower them so low and run them so close to the ground that just puts a lot of leverage on that bracket, and it pulled it out of the frame.
So Jeff Burton is now fastest in practice. There's Montoya fourth, and here's the rest of the top 10. Tomorrow night, the stars come out for the NASCAR Sprint All-Star Race on Speed with $1 million on the line. We've had the build-up all spring, and the event, it's upon us. Tomorrow night, 7 o'clock Eastern, only on Speed, with a great race day pre-race, hours worth preceding it. Well, how about this one, Paulo Montoya? Now it says that's his
their
5-lap average.
Yeah.
He's at the top of that chart and has been for some time. As for the fastest individual lap, Montoya just lowered the standard, and by a big number.
Yeah, about 0.3 of a second, over 0.3 of a second, a 29.28 to Burton's 29.60. This may be a little practice qualifying run on Sam Hornish Jr. in the 77.
I don't like the way that thing was moving through that corner. I mean, it looks fast, but he's got his hands full.
Sorry, he's quicker by 0.3 than his fastest lap earlier, but that is still about.
Well, this is actually the start of a practice qualifying run right here. He just basically simulated taking the green flag.
Oh yeah, no, he looks fast, but he also the car's wiggling around quite a bit. I think he may have just gotten distracted.
A little traffic in the form of Kevin Conway.
Yeah.
Yeah, 33. Yeah.
Equaled the last lap that he ran. Boyer up to third, so 3 Chevys at the top of the chart right now. Then Hornish's Dodge and Carl Edwards and Elliott Sadler in Fords.
And the way that car is handling, he did not need any distractions.
No.
That thing's just a little bit on the free side, looks to me like. Kind of pushy loose. See the back end pull, kind of pop out right there. That's the things that get Sam in trouble with
They
this
fight
car.
that a lot. We were talking about that earlier.
You know what I'd do to him? I'd slow his steering box down. Because some of that is that IndyCar feel where you don't want to turn the wheel very much. I think if they'd slow the steering down in that car, it wouldn't juke around with it so much.
This is a start of a run for Jeff Burton in his 31 car, second quickest right now. He beats Montoya by 2/1000ths of a second, 29.283 to a 29.285.
Heard him say it's too loose, so they're going to have to snug him up a little bit.
But you know, Darrell, with it being this kind of weather, later qualifying made you be just right to qualify.
Well, let's see what kind of number Norm Benning can put up on the board. Now, maybe you wonder, okay, only 2 drivers are going to transfer. What's at stake here for a driver like Norm Benning, unsponsored driver in his own car? Well, this race pays $25,000 to start and works on up there to $50,000 to win. So the purse is fairly flat, and there's money to be made here. Driver can go out, run a bunch of laps, get some good practice for the Coke 600 next weekend, and take home a good payday.
And Norm showed up for the Daytona 500, and the thing about showing up for the Daytona 500, you know you're at least going to race in the Gatorade Dual 150 qualifying races on Thursday.
Right.
That pays decent money.
So you show up where you know you can race.
Right, exactly.
You know he's going to be in the show, so he shows up.
Norm's lap of 32.77. It's about 3.5 seconds off the fastest lap of the day, but give him an A for effort.
Just saw Tony Stewart there, won this All-Star race a year ago, and you know they've made one slight rule change adjustment to that All-Star race, and I think it's going to be a game changer. Before they start that 4th segment, 10 green flag laps, when the cars are under the caution laps after the 10-minute break, every car has to come to pit road and make a 4-tire pit stop, and how you leave pit road is how you'll start the 4th segment. I think that's going to be a huge game changer, and let me tell you who's already done something to make it a game changer. In the Sprint All-Star Challenge on Wednesday night, Denny Hamlin, Mike Ford's group won that challenge. We always talk about pit selection. Normally pit selection is how you qualify. Pit selection is by how these guys finished in that pit crew challenge Wednesday night.
You know what you'll hear a lot after that pit stop?
What's that?
I got a vibration.
Few loose lugs, maybe.
Well,
Denny Hamlin's crew took home $70,000 the other night. And here's a shot of Casey Kane live.
He's here. Still in uniform.
Getting ready to practice.
We used to, the reason drivers are kind of funny about not, being seen out away from the racetrack in their driver's uniform. The only guy I can remember that used to in his uniform before the race ever even got, if we were at a hotel, he'd come out of his room already dressed would be Buddy Baker. Baker used to come out, and the other one was Jeff Bodine. Bodine, I'm thinking he may have slept in his uniform. Because he used to have it on all the time, no matter where we went. I think he thought that was business attire. I'm not sure.
Regan Smith has jumped up to 13th on the board in the Furniture Row Chevrolet. And here's Juan looking to knock Jeff Burton off the top of the chart. Dick?
He's on a time trial run. Mike nose was all taped up, 4 fresh tires on it, just like the last run Montoya took. And while they were getting the car set up for these mock qualifying runs, he and I talked for quite a bit about whether he would be interested in going for the $20 million, the attempt to win the Indy 500 and the Coca-Cola 600 on the same day. His response, most interesting. He'd have to have a really good car for Indianapolis because he said he'd have to go to the gym and lose 15 pounds to be successful at Indianapolis. And then he pointed out that he has been here in NASCAR's Sprint Cup Series for over 3 years and has not won on an oval track here yet. And that says something about the level of difficulty every driver faces when they come into NASCAR's top division.
Sure would be an interesting problem to have, trying to win both those races in the same day. And oh, by the way, Montoya's now quickest by 16 thousandths over Jeff Burton.
And the man he drives for tends to put a pretty good car in the Indy 500 every year.
Sunday, an epic television event and a great day in NASCAR history when the inaugural class of the Hall of Fame rightfully takes their places as the first inductees. Live coverage on Speed beginning noon Eastern Time and only on Speed. There are the 5 members of the inaugural class as nominated by a select committee and voted on. 51 votes cast, 50 NASCAR officials, car owners, past drivers, and media, and 1 vote cast on behalf of the fans as the total of all fan votes submitted. And there they are. Red carpet coverage, 12 noon Eastern Time. And as Carl Edwards comes in, we have the answer to the most pressing question of the day. And it is that Casey Kane says that he did not dress in his driver's suit at home and come all the way to Charlotte Motor Speedway. He was just across the street doing a photo shoot that required him to be in uniform. So he'll be in uniform when he practices. And yes, he was hiding down below the windowsill of the car trying not to be noticed.
And apparently inquiring minds want to know where he was coming from.
He had a photo appearance.
We know where he was going.
Well, come to the track to practice, right? Clint Boyer
there, 33 car. Looks like what Clint did, Darrell, is maybe went out. We talk about this a lot here lately. Just rolled his set of qualifying tires in. Didn't even make a full lap.
David Reagan will be first on the clock when they qualify later today. You'll see that live on Speed. Ding ding. The dinger is 3rd. And Greg Biffle up to 5th.
Things really changing now as we're getting to the closing minutes of this practice session.
Well, you couldn't have much better conditions. Anytime the sun is in, no sun on this racetrack, it makes it a lot better as far as putting down some good fast times. A lot of grip out there when the sun is not shining on it.
Good lap for Biffle. He's now the 2nd fastest Ford to Allmendinger.
You know, we were talking about the campaign that these guys are putting on to get voted in. Back to Greg Biffle as we watch Martin Truex Jr., who's run a total of 45 laps. What Greg, we know that he and his wife Nicole, they do a lot of things for animals. And what Greg has committed, if he gets voted into the Sprint All-Star race, he'll donate his portion of the winnings to the Friends of the Animals Foundation.
It is quicker. Truex is up to third. 29:36 his fast lap.
This little team is getting a little bit better every week, guys. In the top 12 in the points now. I'm just pretty sure OMWR is going to win a race this year. A couple maybe with Marcos will win on a road course. Of course, Truex will win anywhere. I feel like a mile track, maybe Dover or New Hampshire. And then Rudiman's the defending champion of this race.
And you know, the crew chief for Martin Truex Jr., Pat Tryson, has made the chase every single year as a crew chief with a couple of different drivers except for 1 year.
Boy, we're a minute and 20 seconds from the end of this session as Sam Hornish puts up the 8th quickest time.
And he's actually just starting that run right there.
Larry,
that 77 car.
I watched that car though, and I'm just telling you, if the steering, so driver, steering looks too quick in that car to me. I think it gets Sam in trouble. I think they're trying to make it drive like an Indy car, real positive, real quick steering, and that's why it's wiggling.
Yeah, he's
like
got
that.
his hands full. This group better be glad this practice is about over with.
Yep. And there are the flags. Juan Montoya wins practice from Jeff Burton, Martin Truex, A.J. Allmendinger, and Greg Biffle.
Got a lot of those Fords up there with that new FR9 engine.
Nice back and forth between Montoya and Biffle, Montoya and Burton for fastest lap of the session. 29 cars in all will take time to set the field later today for tomorrow night's Sprint Showdown. All right, Sprint Cup practice for the Sprint All-Star race coming up.